Hey, so we've got a hodgepodge of gear today with different reasons. Shaved with this a day or two ago, something like that. This is the 17 millimeter vintage Gillette new Deluxe, and it's a USA make. That's what I had to check under the hood there. Made in the USA right there. And it's obviously an open comb. It's a new, capital letters is how we write that. And there are things like a new standard, new improved. This is the new deluxe. And it's easy to tell between the new short comb, those kind of guys, because the short comb and the long comb right here have a little speed bump that kind of points down. So like right now it would be a speed bump now that the razor's upside down. But since this is flat, you can tell this is a deluxe. This one is a three-piece, but not in a way that newer razors are doing three pieces. Not in the also not in the old type vintage Gillette old type way, where top cap is one piece, base plate is the second piece, and the handle is a third. This is a three-piece in this way, like that. So you can see now this kind of looks like a new short comb or long comb with the rail there in the center to go down this slot, hold the blade exactly in place. It works really well. This is a really smooth razor. Totally wouldn't mind, and I think it's pretty with the patterns in the on the knob and on the handle. It provides great grip as well as being attractive. I'm going to put it back together just loosely so that it doesn't get loose on me, all wobbly and whatnot as I move it around. It is such an enjoyable razor that I placed it pretty high on my favorites list. Very smooth but still cutting well. But I just haven't used it too many times, and so on my I have a computer page that shows me and it contrasts my favorites with my most often used. And so this one, there's a disparity between how high it is on the favorites list and how low it is on the most used list. So let's put a few uses into it over the next few weeks and see if we can equalize things. And when I have a nice equalized list where my most often used and my favorites list kind of jive somewhat close to each other, then that means I'm enjoying the most out of my razors. So I just nerded up joy, right? All right, well, we've got this Maggard bulb knot. This is their SHD line that they've come out with, I think, last year. And it's not the fan shape. This is a fan shape right here. This is a shave mac, but it's the same shape as a normal fan would be. This is a bulb, so you can see the difference. And then this one's almost a hybrid. It's got a little bit more of a fan shape than a normal bulb does. A lot of them are hybrids, and I kind of prefer the hybrids better than a pure bulb. And this one probably ends up to be kind of a hybrid. But anyway, nice craving shaving handle. Like it. And I'm soaking it to get these tips nice and soft. Since this is a 2-band knot, those tips have been treated. And so I do like to give those a nice long soak, 15 minutes if I can, because I can tell the difference between the first pass and the last pass if I only do my usual 3 to 5 minute soak. All right. And so I'm using that brush because the knot came out of it last time. I was planning on using it a few days ago, 3 or 4 ago, and it came out. I didn't use enough silicone, so big deal. I just picked away any loose silicone, put some more on there, more than I used last time, put the knot back on. So now we're good to go. So even if silicone pops off, you can easily reattach. And I like to let them sit for 3 days just to make sure the cure goes in there. It's probably overkill, but I've got enough brushes to play with, and so I do 3 days. And so that's why that guy, the brush is in the rotation. And I just got a wild hair about this blade. I don't think he's been awesome with some of the razors I've chosen for him. And so this may be one that I've got bunches of because of maybe a sale. It had to be a sale, like a ridiculous price. And so I'm going to put it in a bunch of my razors and let's see how he does. Supermax Blue Diamond. Here is the little tuck box. Pretty much looks exactly like what I just showed you. No difference. Here's the back side. Got some distribution info from the UK there. All right. This one's been used 5 times. Approximately. A little write-up on the video down below will tell you exactly. And it very plainly states what kind of blade it is. So we'll go ahead and put this in the razor now. And so with this configuration, it's not too different from normal. Over the bolt will go the blade, and then the base plate with the portion of the handle. Now, this end cap, the top cap here on all 4 corners, has a little piece, a little post that helps to align the blade even if it needed any more, which it probably doesn't, even in addition to the railing there in the middle. So, perfect alignment every time. And not a lot of exposure. Trying to, yeah, so that's why it's so smooth. Not a lot of exposure. It doesn't come out past top cap, safety bar, blade. So positive exposure means it's coming out. Negative exposure means it's recessed somewhat to any degree. And neutral exposure means that the line between these two, the blade edge is touching right on that line. And depending on how far apart the top cap and the base plate are, depends on, that will work in conjunction with the exposure to then get you the feel of the blade. So a negative exposure, you can't always assume is going to be a smooth razor, because maybe if there's a lot of gap between the top cap and the base plate, the guard bar, then the skin would have enough time to kind of come into that recession and then touch the blade. But obviously, a positive exposure in general is going to give you more of a blade feel, more of an aggressive cut. And why am I using this soap? This is a Wickham 1912, and this is Irish Fern. It is a punchy scent. It's very poignant, very zesty. Would be really good for a morning shaver who really needs something to liven him up. And I believe can't remember if I got this used or whatever, but it was just a little too strong for me. And then over time I got to thinking, wait a minute, in many cases a soap will reduce in intensity after the first few uses. Don't know why. Obviously, sometimes the molecules of scent will have gone out of the puck to some degree, and then it'll settle down. And so I thought, well, if that settles down, that might be a really good scent for me, not quite as punchy. So that's why it's here again. Now, what bowl am I going to use? I'm going to use this Captain's Choice bowl, or at least a knockoff. Doesn't have the anchor right there. This one's from DS Cosmetics. It's the same exact dimensions, interior depth and exterior width, as the regular size Captain's Choice bowl. Now, I don't think this is going to go well. This is a 26 millimeter brush. And so I think one swipe in here is going to empty any lather that's been built up in here over the sides. That's what happened with another 26 millimeter brush that I used. Now, that other brush I used, I went ahead and scooped up some of the lather that was on the side and put it back in right before my shave. I just couldn't help it. Well, this time I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave whatever little bit is in the bowl, just a little, I'm sure, and then I'm going to leave whatever is in the brush in the brush. And we'll see. I've had people claim that that'll still be enough for 3 passes, enough to shave on. Now, does that person only do 2 passes, and that's why they can say that? Well, we'll just see how it ends up to me. All right. So I doubt this is going to work very well. Maybe I'll get 2 passes out of it. I'll probably get 2 passes out of it. If I get 3 plus a neck touch-up, I think I'll be surprised at that. This bowl was big enough for a tiny boar brush that I have that has kind of stiff bristles and so doesn't splay quite as much. I got 4 passes of lather. Nicely worked together in here. The ridges helped a lot, and it didn't overflow. So very happy with a small bore brush used in here. And also, if you like to just work up kind of an early proto or concentrate lather with, and then you hydrate as you're basically face lathering from that point on. You're working that concentrate into your face and then adding water to it, like dipping it in the water in the sink or whatever. You're not actually making the lather in the bowl, then I think this is a good option for you. But if you're like me and you mix up 4 passes of lather and you like to use a big brush like this, I don't think this brush is going to be a good fit for the way you shave. I'm really glad that I didn't spend the $30 that Captain's Choice is charging, but instead, at the time, I bought it on sale from AliExpress on the DS Cosmetics store for $6. It was too cheap to resist. Water on my face. It is wintertime, and the water is cold, but I am bringing in a little bit of hot just to have lukewarm water, and my water hardness is high here. All right, the razor's loaded up. Let's do a 30-second load, even though most of that will probably go down the drain. We'll kind of do a light, shake a lot of the water out, and 25, so we'll go to 55. See if this scent can just kind of mellow out just a hair. And the notes here are greens, herbs, woods, which I did pick up the first time I used it. But also water and wind should be a part of it, is what the write-up said. And I did not pick up the water and wind last time. And that is 30 seconds. It's a nice hard soap. It should last a good long time. Be a good workout for your money, a good value. All right. Now, this little medallion thing, Captain's Choice says that's just for your thumb, but I find that my thumb naturally just goes somewhere else. But it does offer a secure grip for at least one of your digits because it is not glossy like the side of the bowl is. All right, so let's start working things up. With the concentric circles design, you can go back and forth in any direction across the circles, and it's a very nice scrubbing action with those circle ridges. You can also go around in the circle, and yes, it's true, the very center of your knot is not really going to go over and through any of those ridges. However, any other portion of the knot does cross some ridges and get some nice agitating action. So we've already got some proto lather starting to go over. And this is what I was talking. We've got to concentrate here. And so if your purpose is just to get to this point, to where your lather just has kind of turned into an early lather, and now you go to your face and add water to the brush from there to build the rest of your lather, then this, I think, can be a really nice bowl for you. All right. Let us load up the syringe. The values that I have, that I normally track, number of teaspoons of water added, load time. Now that one, Yeah, that one's going to be meaningless as well. They're all going to be pretty meaningless because a lot of waste is going to happen. Now I will see, because almost immediately it all goes right back out the side of the bowl. And so there's just not much mixing going on. The minute it becomes lather, it just overflows the bowl. A little bit does happen, but yeah, this thumb, putting my thumb on that just kind of feels awkward. It makes the bowl feel bigger than it should feel. I am going to scrape up, this lather and kind of give it the best chance I can out of the sides. But as you can see, nothing stays in the bowl for me to mix up. Only the lather that is staying in the brush is getting any work on it. But at the end, like I said, I'm going to not take all this and put it back in the bowl and then use it, because I've already tried that and it does kind of work, but I just don't like it because my lather isn't the consistency I want, because it just never spent too much time being mixed. It just went overboard so quickly. And as I add water, I've got to churn very carefully so that it just doesn't immediately spill over. Now, here I am. If I want to just do small, tiny little circles like that, I am able to keep some lather in the bowl. But to be honest, this isn't making lathering easier. I would rather go to the Dollar Tree and buy one of their soup bowls for $1, and then maybe glue some pebbles, some of those glass decorator pebbles to the bottom of it to be actuators. All right, well, I finally gotten, and you can see kind of some stages of the lather. Got some pretty firm stuff right here. Here we're starting to see some hydration added, and then you've got the really wet stuff in here. And that's what I'm saying. You're not getting a good mix. Okay, one more time. I will take all of this lather and we'll mix it around. Okay, let's assume that the person is going to try to kind of keep some lather in there. I mean, because obviously I've just knocked all of it out. So just a normal kind of mix here. And there we go. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of waste, as you can see. So let us take that waste and put it down the toilet. I'm sorry, why did I say toilet? Down the, that was a combination of down the tubes. It's kind of what I was going for there, I think. It's a nice slick soap, good performer. And the container is so messy, it's really slippery. And so it's ceramic, so you're risking dropping it as you try to manipulate this super soapy bowl. And it just barely has any lather left in it. I mean, that's like half a pass of lather. So basically you're face lathering at this point. Whatever lather is in the brush, that is kind of what you're going to be messing with. So that's today's theory. Is whatever lather is left in the bowl going to be sufficient for the shave? All right. The water on the face before applying the lather. All right. See how it goes. I had to Here's a tip when you're re-gluing a knot. Grab the bristles and squeeze them to try to make the knot kind of parallel or not bloom open, because that blooming action can kind of wedge it out and pull it away from the glue. So I squeeze the tips together and I tie a rubber band around it to try to hold it as tight in as I can so that it doesn't have a cork pop out effect. Now already, there's just very little lather going on here. This is a dense brush, but this is a popular brush right now, Maggard SHD. Obviously, it would work if I was going to mix a concentrate. Wonderful soft tips, even though there's virtually no soap in much of this brush. So again, I'm kind of making the point that this is not a helpful lather tool if you use it this way. And I definitely had somebody online say that what lather was left in the bowl and brush, they were able to have a fine shave with it. And well, it didn't work out for me, because this is not going to be a good shave. I'll probably use up all the lather on the first pass. See, this is a chore, and a expensive lather bowl should make it easier. Man, this brush feels great. There are some brushes that need a thick lather to really kind of soften the effect of the tips. The tips just aren't like magically super soft. This is not one of them. This is a thin lather and it feels great. The brush feels terrific. So we may be showing a weakness of this bowl, or an instance of it, but we're also showing how the brush is overcoming that weakness and functioning really well, feeling great despite the conditions, the rather poor conditions. All right, so let's see if this blue diamond, Super Max Blue Diamond blade. Use it for a little while. Working pretty well. A tiny bit of tugging and stuff, but honestly I kind of attribute it to the crappy lather. This is a little on the thin side. So I'm getting a lot more, I'm getting less protection than I really want. So then you say, well, maybe you overwatered it, you thug. All right. Why don't we, since obviously this is a fail, I had the best case scenario and I just put it on my face. So what if we go in there, add a little bit of soap, and let's just add just a hint of water. See if maybe we can mix up something a little thicker than what I just did. All right, let's see what happens there. Now, of course, if I thicken the lather, then I'll be able to have a good bit of lather in this bowl. But here's the thing, it'll be too dry. Drier lathers cause more irritation. They don't lubricate the blade as much because they're underhydrated. Meaning, when I say lubricate, I mean they, protect your skin from the blade with slickness. See, this is too dry. But then if I wet it enough, then I end up with a lather that doesn't stay in the bowl. But the good news is, see, I added some water, and look around the edge of the brush. It's making lather. That's because it was just too concentrated. And this is one of the use cases I was telling you, where you're basically using the small bowl as a concentrate maker, and then you're face lathering from there, because that's what's going on right now. So in terms of having enough finished lather in this bowl, it definitely did not work out for me. I'm not saying it's not going to happen for anybody, because who knows, maybe if I refined my technique a little bit, maybe it's user error. But if you have a brush the size of this, and a lot of people are going with sizes like this, then I think you're just going to have this problem with this small bowl. I've got a feeling I'd be able to use the large one. Larger one is 3/4 of an inch greater in diameter. And so I think that would work better and may even be usable. See this lather right here? Look at that. That is still too dry. So we're not even, with that few seconds of loading, we don't even have a good lather yet. I mean, it's workable, but it's not slick and awesome like it could be. And see, this is face lathering, not using a bowl. So for me, well, you know what I'm going to say. This is not a good option for a bowl latherer. Maybe that other guy who it works for, maybe he just lathers differently. Maybe he only works the tips of the brush. Maybe he just uses tiny circles, and maybe he's got carpal tunnel. I don't know. All right, cross grain now. Oh, now see, there's some glide right there. That wasn't from the bowl, that was from face lathering, basically. And wonderful smooth shaving here. It's a nice performing lather. And let's rinse. All right, third pass. Let's see what we have here. Probably, yeah, the bowl doesn't have anything else really in it that's reachable. Kind of more of a pain to try to reach it than it is just not to. So you can put it on the tip of your brush. You can also put it on your fingers and then work it in. And this is the third pass. We don't really need to do a lot of scrubbing here. To be honest, I do it because I just am evaluating and enjoying the tips on the brush. They just feel terrific. And for now, it seems like this knot, I'm enjoying the bulb more than the fan. The tips just feel softer. I might have to do kind of a side-by-side to really see if that's true or if it's just a messed up perception. The general consensus seems to be that given all other things being equal, a fan knot has less backbone than a bulb knot. I don't know how I feel about that. I almost think, and I could be wrong, but a fan knot, I think that many people don't tend to have to splay because you've already got all that feel in this kind of a shape. And so as you move it across your skin, you're not having to splay it. And so there's a perception that there's less backbone. But if you have a bulb, and this is a hybrid, not a true bulb, if you have a bulb, then if you just use the tips like I just did on the fan, then you just don't get very much feel. And so you have to splay it more to start to feel more of the knot. Just a theory. I don't know how good it is. All right, third pass, and I'm going to do cross grain again on my cheeks. Now, if you like to go for the Baby Butt Smooth, BBS, feel free. There are some guys who get that every morning. That's not me, because my skin starts to yell at me when I go against the grain on my neck. It's possible I may work on it and find a certain razor and blade combo that I could actually do it with. Something super smooth and extra sharp, or some type of magical combo. There have been a couple of razors where I've kind of been able to do that with comfortably. But then I don't want to be stuck using one combo the whole time, And besides, if it feels good, it looks good, what I'm able to achieve every day, and so that makes me happy. And if it's a too close shave that's just Baby Butt Smooth where you don't feel the stubble even if you go against the grain against the stubble with your hand, feeling it, then my hair growth isn't fast enough to where I'd probably be able to shave the next day or within 24 hours. So I like shaving. So, all right, I did get just a little tenderness and blade feel over here. So it could be that this razor blade is not as good as some others that I've used, but this is a junk lather because of all the playing around and stuff. So who knows what it could be, but it was fun, giving weirdness a try. Every once in a while this happens. I will get more of a blade feel on that third pass. And maybe get a little tenderness, slight bit of irritation in these tricky spots here. But you know what? I'm walking away with an amazingly close shave. Better than average. In some cases, I don't even see tips, much less any tips with any length on them. So this is one where you pay the price and you get the rewards. A little bit of tenderness there. It's probably mild enough to where a good balm is going to fix it in a matter of 10 minutes. But it's a great, stunning shave. Really happy with the closeness. And I think I actually may have done it against the grain stroke, maybe on the second pass in my trouble spot area. And that could have been the winning lottery ticket right there. But on my face, on my cheeks, I definitely did not. And I still have a great, nice, close cut. Really happy with it. Excellent. Well, this is not super rare, but it's also not super common, the Deluxe. And I could definitely see and enjoy this razor daily for a long, long time. It is fairly common for there to be a crack in many of these vintage Gillettes that have these tube style handles. And there is a tiny guy right there. Most of the time, they will As long as they're tiny like that, they'll be stable. Sometimes you can, if they're loose and maybe this part will pop out of the tube will separate, you can, affix them back together. I don't know quite what the best glue is for that job, but I'm sure some online searching will answer that question for you. How much water I used, it really doesn't matter. How much lather passes I generated really doesn't matter, because it was all just kind of the wild, wild west today. So let's look down and find a balm. Oh, the scent. I think I did the Russian leather a few days ago from Wickham, and that was in the same boat. It was just a little too strong, a little too zesty for me and my night shaving. But I tried it again, and the max part of the scent, the strength there, came down. It'll probably come down again with the next shave to something much more reasonable. And I think the same thing is happening with this Irish Fern. I'm going to keep it around, and I'm happy about that. I do like the base, and I like to have representatives of each of the, kind of enjoyable soap companies on hand for testing and just variety. So I'm really glad to be able to keep these two guys around. You know what? With this Irish Fern, I still may not get too much water or anything like that. The wind in the water, I may not really get that very much. But you know what this scent is aching for is me to blend this soap with some other soap, with something else, maybe a sandalwood or a woody note that would just be really cool with this scent. This is begging to be part of a hybrid mix. So we'll see if that transpires at some point down the road. Let's look and see what balms I've got that might match this. Oh, this is perfect. This is perfect. Tuscany is one of my favorites from Sterling, and they're discontinuing the scent. And so I did get online and buy a, what did I buy? I bought the full soap and maybe something else. But because I really like the scent, since I'm an evening shaver, it's kind of mellow. And I immediately thought it's got cypress and some kind of floral like orchid or violet. And then it's got bergamot. But I didn't think that would combine as well with the greenery and the herbs, the zesty greenery here. And so I was thinking, like I said earlier, I believe like something like a sandalwood. So I've got something from way back, Lather and Wood. Now I communicated with their staff when I first bought this product from Amazon so many years ago, and I was very happy with my customer service interactions with them. But it seems like they might have changed a little bit over time. Maybe they got bought out by somebody. I'm not sure. Their soaps may actually be made by WSP, Wet Shaving Products, and that's good. I mean, in a way, it's good. It's WSP makes good stuff. They make a vegan mix as well as a tallow base, and both of them are very nice. Sterling to me beats them out a little bit because you get such a better value for about the same price. Really, kind of almost twice the product for the money. And so I think I'm going to buy anything from WSP that just doesn't have a scent representation on the Sterling side. There's Matterhorn, which is the Cool Mountain Water or Silver Mountain Water, something like that. And I think it does have a match over on Sterling's. But there are some other scents that don't. Green Irish Tweed. Irish Tweed is one of this WSP scents. And then Sharp Dressed Man is that Green Irish Tweed clone over on the Sterling side. So, but there's a couple that I do enjoy from WSP. Cool little tins and nice artwork. So I like those guys. So here's what we can do. We've got this sandalwood balm that I applied here. Now let's see how the combo smells. Oh, that's nice. Oh, a little sandalwood mixed with the Irish Fern. Oh, I like that. Neat. Pretty cool. So, unfortunately, the blade, I can't really say much about it because the lather was unpredictable and weird. And so, this, I've told you some of the uses that I have gotten for it. Fail on this one. For me, using a 26 millimeter brush and then only using soap that is left inside the bowl, it doesn't work. There's not enough. By the time you hydrate it enough, then it has enough volume to spill out kind of with every movement. If you thicken it up, then you're basically face lathering because you're taking it from here and going here. And that's a good use of it, of this bowl, is face lathering. But I'm not a face lather. I don't like it as much. And so then it's just, I'm not saying it's a bad bowl, but it just doesn't really fit my needs unless I happen to be using my tiny bore brush. I might give it a try with a synthetic and just see what happens. I do have one that, because sometimes a synthetic will have more backbone, and so then it won't splay, and so maybe it might act like that small bore and allow the lather to exist in the bowl without spilling over. So for the sake of completeness, I may try that at some point. Oh, that sandalwood smells great. Oh, that's good. And I think it's complementing the Irish Fern so well. Man, that's nice. All right, well, let me clean up my gear. Here it is after I've stropped it on the towel, slung out all the water. Loving this brush. It's opened up and bloomed really nicely with just a few uses. It does still have the curvature pretty much of a bulb, and there are definitely other bulbs that are even more round, but I really like the feel of this guy on my face. The tips are super soft. I am really enjoying it. It is dense, but not too dense. It still enjoys display. It focuses these nice soft tips on my face. It's got enough backbone to do that. The density helps with that as well. I do have it mounted, not down very far. I think this is a great customization aspect of this knot, because it can suit people like me who don't like a lot of backbone, and I can mount it high in the socket. I put some plastic washers in there, maybe 2 or 3, and then I glued each of them together and then to the base, and then I glued the base of the knot here with the silicone onto the top of the plastic washers. And so it's as high basically as it can go. However, if you like more backbone, just sink it in a few millimeters deeper. Maybe use 1 less washer, 2 less washers. If you like a lot of backbone, sink this sucker all the way to the bottom and you'll have it. And so I think this is a really flexible knot that can apply to so many people. It's a pleasure to just do this to. Just nice and soft. Very, very good. And I like the fact that it's not gelling up on me yet. Hooking and gelling and being all spongy like. That's not my favorite thing. So I'm curious how this little Super Max is gonna work out over time. Gave me a pretty good shave today. A little odd and maybe a little rough, but it sure gave me a nice close cut. And I don't feel any tenderness right now, so it may end up to be just fine. Not super smooth, but one thing we know, put some uses on it and many blades will smooth out. And so we'll keep doing that and see what happens. We'll see where this blade ends up. See if the 100 or so I have in a tote somewhere is going to be used eventually, or if it's going to be sold. All of our shaving tools are just that, they're tools. And if you try to use a hammer where a screwdriver is needed, then you're going to think, well, this is a crappy tool. Nah, you're just not using it for what it's intended. And so I hope that's the way I come across by the time everything is said and done. I may show some frustration with it because it's not working for, whatever I'm trying to test it on. But I think hopefully I always come around and say, well, here are some good uses for it, or it's just not working for how I shave, and there's not necessarily anything wrong with it. And so I'm going to just say that again now. So the good uses for this guy, the small tiny bore brush works just fine. The creating a proto lather or a concentrate and then face lathering, which is kind of what I ended up having to do today as I rescued it, just fine. It works that way. That's just not the way I shave normally when I can help it. And the samples, if you get a tiny, I don't have any, get a tiny tub of a sample, that's too small to get your brush into. Now, I like to take out a quarter teaspoon at a time and press it into the bottom of a larger lather bowl. So that's one shave's worth of soap. Usually that's a good amount. But some people like to take the whole amount because they use up samples until the sample's done. I don't really do that. And so they could press the entire sample into the bottom of a bowl like this. And so this basically becomes a fancy one of these. To just hold the sample, let you load up, and then you move on to face lathering. You're not actually generating lather in this bowl. So those are some examples where this is an excellent choice. And if you want to go the Captain's Choice route, they say that they have a local potter that makes theirs, whereas I'm sure the one from AliExpress, the DS Cosmetics one, is made a lot more mechanically, perhaps some kind of who knows how they make pottery in such large quantities at such low prices. But I'm sure that Captain's Choice is not. And but this is the same size as the regular bowl. And there are some negatives. It does get very slippery when lather overflows, and it overflows often, at least in the situations where you've seen me use it. With larger brushes, it just doesn't really hold very much lather by the time everything is said and done and it's time to shave. So I also did not really enjoy putting my thumb. It makes the bowl seem bigger. I get a better grip when I don't do that. So for me, that little thing, I don't guess maybe it has much use. I don't know. I guess if you're holding the bowl, no, that's not really very sturdy either. So I don't really know that it has much use. So there we go. Good for a few things. And if you are a practitioner of some of those few things, then this could be a very nice bowl for you. I will try a synthetic in this guy before I kind of put him away. No reason to sell it since I got it for so cheap, I guess. And we'll whip it out if I'm using a small bore or something like that. And yes, since it's ceramic, there is a danger of dropping it and shattering the thing. And that is exacerbated. The risk is enhanced by the spillage issue that you're going to get with this bowl in general. Well, in the end, the Irish Fern is not going to be my favorite scent. However, if I know I'm going to put some sandalwood on afterwards, it might actually be something I can really enjoy, that juxtaposition. Sometimes if you put on an identical scent that you just used in soap form, then there's no transition. You're just staying with the same thing for longer. But I love it when you can get a couple things that contrast but work really well together. And so you get one scent. It's almost like 3 different scents in one shaving experience. During the shave, the soap gives you one thing. So I got this zestiness and the greenery from the Irish Fern. And then when I put on the balm, I get the mix of the zest and the woodiness all at the same time. And that's wonderful, that blend period. And then maybe within the next half an hour, that soap is going to go away. And what I'll be left with is the balm for maybe the next hour or something like that. And so then you've got your third scent. And so it's a dynamic story almost. And I really like it when I find 2 scents that I can put in those 3 stages. It's pretty fun. So, summary, brush was wonderful today. Really enjoyed those soft tips and the density, but wasn't a unsplayable density. It wasn't too backbony. Wonderful brush. Slick soap, really enjoyed the performance aspects when I was able to dial them in well enough. And the razor did reasonably well. It's a beautiful piece. Love using it. The lather didn't allow it to shine quite as much as it has in the past in this case. Let's keep putting that blue diamond blade in some other razors and just see what happens. I don't quite remember if it's a El Cheapo blade or if it's mid-range, but if you can use it 20 times, pretty much any blade is El Cheapo blade, even if it's the most expensive one around there. Well, I enjoyed throwing together these kind of haphazard ingredients into the shave, and I hope there was something here for you that helped you out. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Take care and good night.